Welcome to the NEMECYS Podcast, where we explore how to secure connected medical devices by design. Join us as we dive into the innovations and insights shaping the future of cybersecurity in healthcare.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to dive into something pretty important: medical device cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, and for good reason.
It really is. We're talking about all those devices, pacemakers, insulin pumps, even those high-tech scanners you see at the hospitals. So many of them are online these days.
Right, and that's what makes it so interesting and a little bit scary. I mean, as we weave more tech into healthcare, it's like we're opening up this whole other side of potential problems.
Totally. And you actually asked about that, wanting to know more about keeping those devices safe. You specifically asked about the MDSG 2019-16 guidance, which is kind of like the cybersecurity rulebook for the EU, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we went straight to the source for this one, a paper by 24 experts who are literally working on EU-funded projects to make these devices safer.
And the best part is, these aren't just like theories. These experts are actually shaping the future of this whole field.
For sure. And you know how we always hear about data breaches? Well, this paper goes way deeper, connecting cybersecurity with patient safety.
Totally. It's not just about data anymore. It's about the potential for someone to actually get hurt.
Exactly. Like, imagine a heart rate monitor connected to the internet, of course, that gets hacked. Suddenly, it's giving doctors totally wrong information. You can see how that could lead to a totally wrong diagnosis.
Oh, absolutely. Could be life or death.
Yeah.
And the paper breaks down all the ways this can happen. They talk about the risks to data confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and how each one could actually harm a patient. Like, what if someone messes with your medical data and your doctor makes the wrong call about your treatment because of it?
Or what if there's a cyber attack during an emergency and suddenly your electronic health records are just gone?
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. It could be really bad.
So how do we make sure these devices are actually secure? That's where that MDSG guidance comes in, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a roadmap for the companies that make these devices to make sure security is built in from the start.
Right. But, and this is where it gets good, the paper says that guidance needs a serious update.
It does. But the good news is these experts actually offer solutions to fix it. They're not just complaining. They're saying, hey, there's a fire, but we're also giving you the instructions to build a fire hydrant.
And not just any fire hydrant. This is like the top-of-the-line, self-updating, laser-guided fire hydrant, am I right?
Exactly.
So what are some of their big recommendations?
Well, they want to make cybersecurity clear for everyone. It shouldn't be just technical jargon. They really want to connect it back to how it impacts patients in real life. Because, someone might hear vulnerability and think it's just a techie word. But when you're talking about an insulin pump, it could be life or death.
Right. So it's not, hey, companies, just make it secure. It's more like, here's how those security flaws could actually hurt someone. You okay with that?
Exactly. They're saying patient safety has to be the focus. And another big thing, technology changes so fast these days, right?
Too fast.
So that means security has to move even faster. They want companies to be constantly on the lookout for new threats, always assessing and adapting to whatever comes up.
So you can't just make it secure once and be done. You got to keep at it, right?
You got it. It's a whole culture of cybersecurity, not a checklist you tick off once. And they even bring up some really interesting points, like how do we keep patient data private, but also share enough to help with research and new treatments? It's a tough balance.
It is. Especially when you think about all the different systems that are connected. Your heart rate monitor sends data to the doctor's office and it goes to some cloud server. Then a researcher might look at it. It's like this huge web of places where someone could get in.
Right. And figuring out the risks and all that is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
That's why the paper wants more practical guidance for these companies. Like, imagine having actual step-by-step recipes for cybersecurity, like a cookbook, but instead of food, it's super strong security.
Yeah.
That's their idea.
Okay, so we've got our cybersecurity cookbook. That's great. But what about, the actual ingredients? What are they recommending we put in this thing?
Well, they've got a whole toolkit in mind. One thing they talk about is threat intelligence platforms. Basically, it's like a neighborhood watch, but for medical devices.
I like that.
So they're always sharing info about new threats, new vulnerabilities. It's like giving those companies a heads up, right?
So it's like having this team of cybersecurity pros constantly patrolling, making sure no one's snooping around.
Exactly. And it's not just pointing out the bad stuff. They also talk solutions, like penetration testing frameworks. This is where it gets really cool because we're talking about ethical hacking.
Whoa, hold on. Ethical hacking.
Yeah. They're basically saying, bring in some expert hackers to try and break into the device before the bad guys do.
So it's like a controlled demolition, right? find the weak points before the real earthquake hits.
You got it. And speaking of strong foundations, they also talk about secure coding policies, which just means making sure the software itself is secure from the very beginning.
Okay, so building it right from the ground up.
Exactly. And you know how software always needs updates? They also want those to be automatic for medical devices.
Makes sense. Who wants to do a whole update process on their pacemaker?
Right. So it should be seamless, automatic. You don't even have to think about it. But I think the most important thing they bring up is collaboration. Everyone working together, sharing information, the companies making these devices, the researchers, the hospitals, everyone.
Because we're all in this together, right?
Exactly. The bad guys are already sharing info, trying to outsmart everyone, so the good guys have to do the same. We can't afford to be, competing with each other when it comes to this stuff.
So we've covered a lot how cybersecurity is about keeping people safe, not just data, and how we have to stay ahead of the bad guys, always adapting and being proactive. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes. Ask your doctor. Ask the company that makes the device. What are they doing to keep it secure?
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right? And in this case, it could really make a difference in your health and peace of mind.
Speaking of peace of mind, the authors bring up something really interesting towards the end. They ask, how can we make sure these rules and guidelines actually keep up with technology? Because it's changing so fast.
It's like trying to hit a moving target, right? You finally think you've got it figured out, and then boom, something new pops up.
Exactly. That's why they say we need to keep researching, keep collaborating, get experts from all different areas, cybersecurity, healthcare, engineering, everyone working together, sharing what they know to figure out the risks and come up with new solutions.
So basically, it's an ongoing process.
It has to be if we want to stay ahead of the game.
And for you listening, the next time you see some fancy new medical device, whether it's a fitness tracker or as something more serious, I hope you remember this conversation.
Me too. Hopefully you'll have a better idea of what to look for, what questions to ask. It's all about being informed, being your own advocate when it comes to your health.
Right. It's really about taking control of your own health.
Yes.
Away. And hey, speaking of taking control, we'll have a link to that paper we talked about in the show notes. I know we got into the weeds a bit, but it's honestly a pretty interesting read, even if you're not, a tech wizard.
Yeah, it's well written, very accessible. They did a good job explaining everything.
They really did. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me for this. This was really fascinating stuff. I learned a lot.
Me too. It was great. Always fun to chat about this stuff with you.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us. Until next time, stay curious and maybe do a little research before you connect that new medical device to the internet. Just saying.
The NEMECYS project is co-funded by the European Union, with additional support from UKRI and the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the granting authorities.